I'm Rick Vaccaro. I represent District 4. And as you guys know, District 4 has changed a little bit since the last census. So I know that I do some of Rolling Hills, most of Rolling Hills, Paradise Valley Estates now. Not all of Rancho Solano. I believe Councilman Carr does the beginning of Rancho Solano. So things have actually it's taken me a little bit to figure out exactly where I'm at as far as our district goes. But here's the ground rules for today are simple. Okay, we don't have a microphone, so a little technical difficulty, but if you do speak, please, when you introduce yourself, okay, and speak up so we can get everything down. Kelly's taking notes over there. So before we start, I'll let my fellow council members introduce themselves. So let me see, where's everybody? Starting with the mayor.
I'm Mayor Kat Moy. I think I know most of you.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Councilman Carr.
Most of us.
Doug Carr, District 3.
Okay. Councilman Vice Mayor Bertani.
Vice Mayor Bertani, I know you all. Hi, glad you're here this morning. Ready for a good conversation.
Okay.
And I'm Scott Tonneson. I represent District 2, the downtown area, and Lower Cordelia, and the ranch. So.
Okay, so this is a listening tour. So a listening tour, basically, we're here to listen, okay? And you talk. So you guys, any, issues you want to talk about, positive, negative, whatever, feel free. We're here till 12 o'clock. We're going to have a pretty hard stop at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to open it up. So,
Can you introduce the gentleman there in the badge?
How about our staff? Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what? Totally my fault. Okay. Dan?
I'm Dan Marshall, Police Chief.
Okay. That's my negligence. I'm very sorry.
He's got that badge. He's saying
Dan,
something.
We want to know who this
Dan's
guy
kind
is.
of a
Exactly.
friend.
He's
so,
the guy with the gun.
Yeah, sorry, Dan. Our city manager,
David Gasaway, nice to see you all.
He's the guy without the gun.
our assistant city manager.
Sabina.
But he has the big stick though.
Savita
Yeah.
Chaudhary,
Big fan.
Assistant
Yeah,
City
exactly.
Manager.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Sabina, say that again.
Oh, Savita Chaudhary, Assistant City Manager.
John?
I'm John Sturdy, Deputy Fire Chief.
Okay, am I missing anybody here at all?
Congratulations.
Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly Ballard, Executive Office Manager to the City Manager's Office.
All right, sounds good.
She's actually the one that runs City Hall.
Right.
Yeah.
We know.
She's our boss.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have everybody. Right, okay, so I'm going to open it up. Whoever wants to start out with any questions or concerns. Yes, sir. You can stand up and
My name's
introduce yourself.
Rosendo Marin, and I was wondering if you have any plans or any idea of what might be happening at the entrance of Paradise Valley where we live. There's a big lot there. That was supposed to be our school. We lost the school, and they let them build 10 more houses there. And then they said it was too small for a school because they put the 10 houses in. And then they said they were going to put a park in, but then they wanted us to pay for the park. No, not pay for the park, maintain the park. The city would put the park in. But now it's status quo. I'm talking to Catherine Moy about that area before. And I wonder if you'd have any idea or any plan for that area. And of course, there's another big lot across the street, which was supposed to be a church. And now I think the church is gone. So we're just interested in see what's going to happen there in our neighborhood.
Okay. Well, I think, I'm not sure, so I'll have to turn that over to a city staff member, city manager.
Yeah, it's not coming to mind, I'm sorry. So where's the lot, Rick?
It's right at the corner of the east
Right behind the sign.
and Manuel Campos, and it was supposed to be a park, but we tried our own 218 process within Paradise Valley. We did not get a sufficient amount of encouraging votes. We didn't do the official. This was almost a straw poll done by the residents because we had to take on the assessment for maintenance. It was estimated to be around $70 a year approximately is what we put out. And it would be patterned after the Gold Ridge Park, the Gary Filati Park. The same thing occurred there. They got together, they said yes, they built it, the city built it because the money is there to build it, but that we have to take care of it. And in the beginning of our LLMD 218, I was hoping that we could add it as one of the items to add to our LLMD, but we didn't. So it is definitely needs to come up again for that because it's readily available. The process is there, but there is a clock ticking. after a certain number of years, my understanding is it reverts back, I thought, to the developer, and they will have the ability to do that. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I've read that in a few places. So those are the basic facts of it, and we are hoping people want to go forward and do it because we have so many people walking and dogs and kids and wonderful place to go. So as you see it come up, please volunteer.
Okay. Anyone want to comment on that? All right, any issue, next issue anybody wants to bring up at all regarding Rolling Hills, Paradise Valley, Rancho Solano?
Before we move on, can I say, so are we gonna have any action, any next steps on this issue? On the park issue, should we look into it and see what some action steps might be moving forward? And I'll say this too, part of the listening tour is for us to get actually some work done.
Amen.
Today. Yeah, so I don't want people to just, bring up their issues and just let it pass. Let's get to it. At the city council meetings, that's really kind of not the time to have these kind of substantive conversations because we're getting the business of the city done. So this is our opportunity to talk to the folks that matter the most, and that's you, and to actually get some resolution on some issues. So before we move forward, what can we do to follow up on this issue and look at the property, look at how we might gauge interest by the residents?
My suggestion is put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. What does that
Put a pin
mean?
in it. It's on the heels of the LLMD. You're going to come back and ask for more money. People are going to look at you and go, no.
Timing.
Yeah. Come back in a year, talk about making it a park. But right now, people are having a really hard time swallowing the increase. And they're not real happy with the city right now. And you come back to them and say, we want to build a park, that's fine. Then you want to turn around and say, you're going to charge you more for it. It won't be received well.
Yeah, and you know what, and honestly, and just to kind of jump in on that, that's actually the kind of feedback we're looking for, exactly what you just said. I know people are pissed off, sorry for my language, but I know that. Okay, I mean, we get the emails, we get the phone calls.
Every day.
We absolutely know that, and it's really kind of hard sometimes to defend things. I mean, I know that's, you can say, well, somebody else said to me one time, why are you getting defensive? I said, I'm actually not getting defensive. I understand what you're saying. I just don't know what the right answer is right now. We don't have the right answers all the time. That's why we're doing this, to clarify what Vice Mayor Bertani said. Yeah, we definitely want to take some action. So I should have said that from the beginning. These are just not, basically complain. We'd like to take some steps forward on, on the issues you're talking about, so.
Let's talk solutions.
Go ahead, sir.
So it sounds like put a pin in it. Is that kind of the general consensus right now?
Well, I think pissed off is not gonna do anything. We can all be pissed off.
Mhm.
We're not gonna go anywhere. And so, we can't hold a grudge forever. We've gotta move forward, and there's
Well, some
definitely
people do.
been some mistakes made, but at the same time, I just feel like we gotta move forward.
Yes, sir, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm David Thacker, and some of you know me, some of you don't. And I've been a real troublemaker for the city with the LLMDs. And so I want to tell you a little bit about why I got interested in that. And it comes down to back in 2019, I noticed the street sweeper wasn't coming around, just wasn't showing up. And so I thought, well, what else isn't going on? And what else should we be getting and we're not getting? And so I went out and I looked around and I saw the state of the landscaping and I got involved with that. But that's a separate story we'll get into in a minute. The street sweeping has not improved, and I've notified the city in different ways, and Corey Beavers downtown, who's been totally non-responsive, that what they're doing, for those of you who have not witnessed this, is the street sweeper is coming around. Last month was during school time drop-off, when all the cars are parked on the streets. Now that's not the main thing. The main thing is that when he got to my house, there were sticks on the road. And he stopped his sweeper, he got off the sweeper, picked up the sticks, and threw them on top of my landscape. Now I have a movie of this, anybody interested in seeing him actually doing it, I'll be happy to show you. Pardon me?
Are we talking about the park stuff?
No. It's his own thing.
Different subject. So for those of you who are interested in why I'm so interested in LLMD and city conduct and the lack of city services, it basically comes down to no oversight. The city is not overseeing their contractors and they're not watching what's going on. That's the stem of all the problems we have here.
I agree.
I have other
I
things I
agree.
can talk to you about. If you want to see the movie of the street sweeper, it's a good one. I hope the city council will look.
I will disagree with that to
Yeah,
some
could you,
point.
I'm sorry, could you stand up and
Oh, I'm
introduce yourself?
sure.
Yes.
I'm Betty Bussey. I live on Moss Valley Drive across the street from the grade school. And this last year, I've seen public works trucks out in my neighborhood a lot.
Amen.
And I feel like they come around and look and check the work that's
Yes, they
being
have.
done.
Yes, they have.
And I've called them a couple of times about an issue. They've been responsive. But I'll agree with you about the sweeper. He comes, you know, between 7:20 and 8:15. That is not the time to come down Moss Valley Drive to sweep the streets. Because it's all backed up in all directions with parents dropping their kids off.
So can I
Okay, hold on, I gotta,
Okay,
could you stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Barbara Pascone. I'm the other troublemaker. Exactly.
We love you, Barbara.
Hi. I just wanted to say is that I became involved with the LLMDs in 2022. When Sid and Mike had the first meeting and they were discussing the fact about Proposition 218. Nobody knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. So I go home, I start researching, which, you know, when you start researching, you're led to this, you're led to all these things. Okay, so the end result of that was going to city council meetings and actually providing them with documentation that the LMD, especially Rolling Hills, has been overcharged for the past 26 years because they never implemented Proposition 218 until the 2023, 2024. Well, you know, I've written reports to city council, city attorney, mayor, vice mayor, everybody. And it's all accurate. They can check out all of my references. And then when we were faced with the shortage of funds, it was because the city never brought everything up current. And that's why there's no money. I figured it out last night. In 26 years, Rolling Hills, for all the expenses, has paid over $8 million, you know, for LLMD. The city's only contributed 900 and something thousand, which meant that Rolling Hills got stuck with 86-point-something%, and the city, for all the public areas, the citywide areas that they agreed to pay for in Resolution 91-213B, you know, they ignored it for years. Had the city kept up with it throughout the different administrations, they could have seen the mistake and they could have rectified it, and they would have found there was no reason for a city loan. There was no reason to even probably increase the charges. But what happened was in 1997, when Proposition 213 became effective, that the city never canceled Proposition 213B, which they should have at that time, and they didn't. So they just kept on putting in their $35,000 a year to the LLMD, when actually the city's liability would have been much greater. If our LLMD maintenance costs increased over 300%, then the city contribution should have also increased over 300%. And that never happened. And that's why we're here where we are. So in all my reports and everything, and I emailed Councilman Carroll last night.
I got it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not because I'm a troublemaker. It's because I care about the community. It's because, you know, I want to see everything taken care of. But even now Mayor Moy, you know, I offered to meet with her, you know, and her to work. I offered to go over everything I have. I have 2 boxes of research at home like this, going all the way back to 1988. And nothing. So, it's my opinion that the city really needs to look at this, go back and see where they made the mistake, and bring it up to date. How can they have an engineer's report, in my case, raising it to almost $1,000 a year, when they owe us, when they owe us money, which, when Councilman Moy was there last July, June or July, she voted no for our LLMD because she agreed that we were entitled to something. And then after that, everything went by the wayside. So
Barbara, I'm gonna let Mayor Moy respond to that.
I just want to say one more thing. This is to David Thacker. It's my understanding that the contract with the garbage company is also responsible for the street sweeping.
Yeah, that's right.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So I just want to, first of all, I have not received anything from you since I've been mayor. You did talk to me and we, before. All of your stuff has been looked over with a fine-tooth comb by our staff. They're the professionals and they tell us what we do. Now, do I also look at it? You're darn tootin' I do, because I'm like you, I'm a little bit of a troublemaker. I want to know what's going on. So then I have the right questions to ask staff. I'm happy to meet with you, but with staff, so they can answer you, because they are the experts. So I'll tell you that. As far as Mr. Thacker, as far as the cleaning, look, we need to do that at a different time, so I'll ask staff to contact the contractors and tell them that we need to move that. I think I've done that before, but we're talk about action here. That action needs to be taken, and also to make sure that if they come across any stuff like the broken branches, that they're not putting it on private property, they're picking it up. So we'll take care of that. Okay.
Your
That's the
overseer,
line,
Mr. Corey Beavers told me, number one, that the street sweepers were.
He's not my overseer.
Okay. No, but
I'm his overseer.
But he oversees the street sweeper, and he told me that the street sweeper cannot pick up those sticks. And I asked him if it was okay if the street sweeper threw sticks up on my landscaping,
No.
and he didn't answer that.
Well, hold on, and that's Solano Garbage,
It's
that's
Solano
part of the
Garbage.
contract, so that's something like with the
We
mayor
have to
said,
go
we're
through
gonna
the
have to discuss
contractor.
that. But, so that's being written down. But
Yeah.
I think before, I know you, but June, did you have something before Rick, or no?
Yeah, I just want to comment that, again, there's so much negativity over the LLMD.
Right.
There's so much negativity over the city staff. However, who's going to suffer for all this? Us. Go look at the weeds that are already happening in Bowling Hills.
They've been
Go look at all the bushes that aren't being trimmed. Go look at the trees, because I walk every morning. Pam, you walk with me. We have to dodge around the trees. So we can all sit here and bitch, but we're the ones that are going to suffer. So it's very frustrating that we're going to just keep beating this down when it's not going to do us any good. Our landscaping is going to continue to go to hell, and our lighting is going, when we don't have lights in our neighborhood because it's dark, we're all going to have a problem.
Okay, Rick, and then,
Rick Johnson, Paradise Valley. Quick point of order. I'm LLMD all the way. I'm deep in the weeds for that process, but we didn't finish.
Correct.
Vice Mayor Bertani said, what are we going to do? What action item? I think we can get off this pretty quickly, but there was another question or two, and the bottom line is, what can we do going forward? And then we'll jump right back into this. But we jumped out of before we handle it.
Thank
But
you.
good.
Yeah,
Okay,
so, and we're gonna talk LLMDs like this is gonna be the meat and potatoes for today. But if you please, Councilman Vaccaro, can we just finish up on the Paradise Valley Park, that property issue, so we can either put a pin in it or whatever, but just, so we can just have, even if the action item is to put a pin in it, let's kind of get some resolution around this gentleman's question that he brought up initially.
yeah, Mike.
If that's okay?
Yeah, that's okay. The problem is, I'm not sure if we can actually decide that today. What's
Yeah.
gonna happen there. I think what we might have to decide moving forward is that might be another meeting like very soon to decide, not today. I mean, the fact that it's down here as an action item, I think is important. But as far as today goes, there's so many other things we want to talk about, but as long as that's down as an item we want to discuss, like in the very, very, very near future, I think you're okay with that, right?
And that can be a resolution right there.
Okay.
It's a item to move to another date and time. Is that good with everyone? Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Can I add to that?
Okay, but she had her hand up for a while. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I want to do away with
Well, could
the
you say your name,
complaining
please?
Linda Bisbee.
Let go.
And I'm on the Rolling Hills Neighborhood
Okay.
Network Board, and I'm
Yeah.
a former chair, too.
Yeah.
I want to do away with complaining about the landscape thing. This is done and over with. The vote was done. However, I am not happy with Civic Mike. I'm not happy with how the city explained things from Public Works, that how much weight the apartment complex and the school district got.
Right.
If everybody got one vote, we would have passed. Yeah, but it's so weighted against them, and things were asked at a meeting, but it was never explained that way. None of us on, on the board, at least I didn't know, that it was so weighted that they had so much vote power that we lost because of that. And now we have to suffer, but yet we have two big entities that ruined it for everybody. Is there some way we can do a different kind of district and exclude those two properties so that just the property residents, I should say, not property owners, but the residents can get a vote on this and leave out the school district and the apartment complex in a different kind of landscape district? I don't know what to call it.
Taken care of.
Right.
There before.
Okay, hold on. One at a time. I understand. Hold on.
And Civic Mike, do not ever use them again. Do not use them. I do not think they were worth the $80,000 that we got charged. And it was just not good.
Yeah.
You could have done.
I agree. Civic Mike.
Okay, that's what I have.
Okay, hold on. Listen, the ground rules were clear in the beginning. It's one at a time, okay? So if everybody else is gonna be talking and chirping in, we can't do that. So it has to be one at a time if it's gonna be any type of an organized meeting. Okay, I think you were next and then this one.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Sir, I just want to clarify which parcel you're talking
Please
about.
state who you are and stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name's Mike Johnson. I live in Paradise Valley. Parcel that you're talking about, I think, is opposite the entrance to Paradise Valley, next to Manual Campus, not the park that you're describing. Is it on that side of Manual Campus, the large parcel that has a chain running across the driveway?
There are two parcels.
Right.
One on Paradise Valley, Manual Campus, right-hand side as you go in. It was designated as a school, then the school said they weren't gonna do it. It's now just an empty place.
Right.
The park and recreation owner. Across the street is a property owned by the church, but I believe the church is now defunct. So those are the two properties that are
Right,
not
yeah.
far.
Not the park.
Right.
Yeah, he was asking about the property that was going to be a church.
He wanted to know what's gonna go on with it.
It's listed on the market right now. I believe there's plans with the city for a retirement community. But if you go on LoopNet, it's listed there for sale right now with potential plans for that community.
Mr. Thacker, you had your hand up? Okay, anybody, yeah, go ahead, Carol, stand up, say who you are.
I'm Carol Hummel. I live in Sanctuary. A lot of you know me, and I live on Sanctuary. And I was on the landscape committee. I worked with Rick and a lot of people here in this row, and the Bisbees and all that. And we really did get into every number on the LLMD. And I will just give you some facts because I keep hearing a lot of things buzzing around. Linda is absolutely right because we do know who voted yes and no. So there was, let's see, 223 yes, 194 no, but we were beat by $110,000. And guess what? The apartment building voted no, was worth $80,000. The school voted no, which is amazing, which is $32,000. And that basically did it by 2 votes because we would have easily passed. So the other question you asked is there is another vehicle besides a 218 and a land management district. And it's called a CFD, which is a community funding
Facility.
facilities. And we're probably going to talk about that, with the city in a little bit, but that still needs a vote, but it's renters. So you have to look at who votes. So there's a lot to be studied on that, and I'm hoping that we can do that.
We have a meeting on Monday.
So just so you know,
we're going to get into it. Yeah.
and the average person who voted, if you took those two people out, of the yes votes, the average assessment is 771, and of the no's, the average assessment was 762. Now, if you looked at the other districts, they're all up in the $700 range for the people who have landscaping such as ours, and we have been paying $250 and $300 for 30 years. So, and the city did triple, by the way, so the city's participation did go up in kind.
Okay, before Mr. Thacker, I just wanted, we had two of our council members come in. Introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name is Kate Patrice Williams. Sorry I'm a little behind today, my back is killing me and I have to do a chiropractic adjustment, but I'm thrilled to be here and to see all of you here and here to listen. Thank you.
Councilmember Pandora.
Good morning, Councilmember Doris Panduro, and I represent District 5, so Central Fairfield, and happy to be here this morning.
I think we also have a representative from Assemblywoman Wilson's office, is that right?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Wendy Fabian. I'm one of the field representatives for Assemblymember Lori Wilson. I'm also happy to be here listening to you. My name is Wendy Fabian. I'm one of the field representatives for Assemblymember Lori Wilson. And I'm happy to be here listening to you all this morning.
And a former student at Armstrong High School.
That's right.
Mr. Thacker.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the idea of CFDs. Here is another situation where the city had an opportunity to do a CFD and decided to go with the 218 process. I personally spoke to a representative of Civic Mike in Colorado, of all places, where they're based in some way. And the lady I spoke to said, we took the idea of a CFD to the city of Fairfield and they rejected it because they would prefer to do a 218 process. Isn't that something? Now, I don't know who they approached. Was it the city council? Was it the city attorney, the city manager, or who? But the city of Fairfield was offered and what I was told was that the CFD is the state-of-the-art methodology of doing this type of project, and that the Prop 218 process is not. And that is coming from Civic Mike. And that's true.
Well, I can tell you, I know I'm not going to speak for my colleagues, but I think we weren't told about that, but I don't know, David, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I don't recall any specific conversation with Civic Mike where they were saying we should look at a CFD, but I think that's something that certainly, if that's another path that is of interest, it could be an easier path to getting, to where we need to be on the votes in order to get it.
I'm going to stand and sit back now.
Okay, go ahead.
Terrible back. I'm Steve Garrettson. I live in Paradise Valley. I'm also part of the Homeowners Association. I also spent time on this lovely Civic Mike committee regarding LLMD. Everyone's thinking it, and you guys need to know it. The LLMD process that we went through sucked. It's terrible. Really was very painful. Civic Mike sucked. They were the worst organization to work with. They didn't hear, they didn't listen. Unsubstantiated information, don't know where it's coming from. You don't know if they actually spoke with someone, but you got misinformation. So whatever process you guys use in the future, you guys need to modify it and make it a little less painful. The way you went about taxing everyone agree, all of a sudden you got this huge amount of money or this deal, and some people got thousands, some people got hundreds, weren't aware. Then we have this weighted average. A lot of people weren't aware of the weighted average. People like Rick and I were aware of it, but a large number of people had no idea there was a weighted average. So when they voted, they didn't realize that their vote really didn't count. So there needs to be some upfront communication in the future. Second one is the city needs to take responsibility not you guys, because you weren't there, for their screw up. This problem with LMDs have been going on for many years. You can attest to it, you can attest to it, you can attest to it. Everyone can attest to it. But no one wants to stand up and say, whoops, we screwed up. It happens. We understand things get screwed up. We're forgiving. We know that. Move on. We understand it. It's been screwed up. We know it's screwed up. We're going to move forward from here. But it would be nice to understand that the ball was dropped.
Well,
So, with that second, you got anything else to add to this?
Well, just to comment on that, I think that's one of the reasons why we have a meeting Monday, and we're going to continue to talk about this.
And make no mistake, I can speak for myself that I understand that this problem happened because the city did drop the ball. Because there were not the proper escalators in place, and so we've been paying a flat rate for since Bill Clinton was president. So, I mean, it's the truth, and that is there's staff that get paid to do that job. But the city council does not micromanage what's happening in each department every day. That's not what we're supposed to do. We have people on the staff that should have done that. So I'm speaking for myself and taking responsibility right now. I know that to be the truth. That's a matter of fact. But what I'd like to say moving forward, if I can, is that for now, what I'd like to see happen is that we need to look at each maintenance contract in every LLMD and at least make sure that those contracts and the responsibilities that are set forth in that contractual document are being adhered to. So the mayor and I are going to be meeting to look at the Paradise Valley one this coming week. I took a walk around Paradise Valley with one of your neighbors, and Paradise Valley is not looking like Paradise Valley should. And when you, instead of driving through it, like when you walk through it, you can really see the degradation.
But isn't it amazing how much better it looks because we've been putting the effort into it? Now, if you had done this 6 months ago, you would have really been shocked.
Hey, listen, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And so moving forward, we need to be thinking about what we can do right now to make sure that we suffer the least amount possible. And I think that if we do a read of each contract with TerraCare or whoever the person's going to be moving forward, and make sure that at least what they're obligated contractually to do gets done. That's the least that we can do right now. And then look at other ways like the CFD, and we have a meeting on Monday where we're going to get into the weeds about it. But every contract needs to be looked at and adhered to. We need to get what we're paying for, is what I'm saying. We need to get what's paid for. And Mr. Thacker, I'll say I agree that there needs to be oversight and accountability. If it's not getting done properly, we need to have city staff that make sure that these contracts are being complied with. I'm going to be on that bone. Trust me on that one. I'm going to be on that one. Yeah.
Hold on.
All about the contracts.
Okay, don't mean to interrupt, but
No, I'm sorry. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. Barbara, okay, and then, hold on one second, and then this gentleman right here.
I'm all about moving forward, and I always have been. That's always, kind of been my goal. The immediate situation moving forward is that on July 18th, I think we're going to be a city council hearing about Rolling Hills to approve the engineer's report for the $300 amount. But I read the minutes from the last city council meeting. And so basically, but what they're going to do is, okay, so at the $300 rate, we know that reduces, everything goes to crap, excuse my language. But what the city's doing, not only is that one main part, the other part is that the city is going to start deducting $82,000
for the loan.
For the loan. Well, we're going to end up with $200,000.
Yes.
A loan that Civic Mike did that was like totally illegal. I'm sorry to begin with. But so we need to figure out a way that we're not, Rolling Hills isn't going to suffer any further and that the city council considered the $82,000 loan, because, I mean, that's gonna wipe everything out.
Well, first of all, I think everything's kind of on the table, right? I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. I mean, don't think for a second, okay, that everything that's happened over the last year doesn't bother us. I mean, because I know, and I will just speak for myself, but I'm sure everybody on the council probably agrees, that we take this stuff really seriously. We get stopped in stores, we get stopped when we're walking, when I pick up my grandkids at school, I get stopped, the whole thing, right? That's okay, that's what you get elected for, okay? You get elected to not just people pat on your back and say you're doing a good job. I'm fine with people telling me this is screwed up. I'm okay with that because I know there has to be solutions, okay?
Right.
So that's what this whole thing is about, is trying to figure out solutions. So go ahead, sir.
My name is James Simeon. I live here in Paradise Valley. But just Vice Mayor's point, I appreciate you guys having this, listening, and you actually walking Paradise Valley and really see what's taken place over the last year. It's really deteriorated. But as people drive down Highway 80 going eastbound, you know, you recognize the mall, you recognize the North Texas, and as you proceed down the highway, you see the Paradise Valley sign on the side of the highway, and that's what people recognize. But when you have trees that are half dead because they cut the water source, you know, people aren't going to want to play golf. They're not going to want to come. We live in a unique community. We're all here because we're proud of where we live and we're happy. And it's a great community.
Right.
And you know, I want to continue to live here and have it be appealing. So when you have your relatives come in, they you don't look like you live in an Estes, you know. And to the city manager, when you drive down North Texas, heading downtown, to me there's enough of fast food and gas stations. You know, understand that you have to have a revenue source, tax base, but is there anything being done to bring in big corporations or bigger businesses in the city properties? You know, the vacant lands that we have here. I mean, to me, like Ed Lee in San Francisco before, you know, he brought in big technology companies in San Francisco. You know, Baskerville's trying to, you know, they've lost Genentech, but they're bringing big business. And how come we can't do that here? I know there's some landlocked stuff you can't touch, but obviously it can't be done just all on home tax revenue, on mortgage tax or property tax, right? There's such a huge shortfall. So how do you guys anticipate bringing in legitimate businesses and just not fast food and gas stations? Obviously there are homes that are being built, so that's more revenue source coming in, but it doesn't seem like there's a shortfall. And then with the deteriorating landscaping and sanctuary in Paradise Valley all through Fairfield, I mean, people are gonna want to come less to live here and branch out. And you know, and like my wife always makes fun of me. I would say Fairfield's the next Napa. I mean, we have Silver Rock Trail that you probably get some wineries coming into the valley. I mean, that's a huge opportunity. And I don't know if the city owns property out there or if it's just individuals. But I mean, there's got to be some way you can bring in more revenue to compensate for these shortfalls and mismanagement. Not at the city council level, but it's stuff we're supposed to roll up to you guys, and it just stops. And there's no accountability. It's just like Rick said, you know, he gets stopped by at the store, and it's the same with Rick and Steve. You know, we get stuck in our community and being on the board. You know, our neighbors that are asking me, I have to go to Steve. Steve goes to you guys. We always roll up to somebody, and somebody's always coming for accountability. So it's a little bit long-winded, but
But on point.
Yeah.
On point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Paradise Valley. Oh, one last thing. Going eastbound, the little frontage road heading up the hill, that section I understand is part of the LLMD for Paradise Valley. And I use that to ride up to Pleasant Valley. That road is all chopped up, and it's a hazard. You know, people push strollers on it, people run on it, they cycle on it. And I understand, you know, so it would be nice if that road got fixed, because it is gonna patch into the new section in Vacaville when they build a new community out there with the golf course and everything else. So right now there's 3 poles that stop people from just driving in. but the landscapers have access to that road. So it'd be nice if at some point we got that repaved or just smoothened out some. And then plus the burnt out trees and the landscaping.
Get rid of the homeless.
And the homeless, yes.
Councilman Carr, you want to?
On your comment on fast food restaurants, I assure you that this council, we all talk, and we have our opinions as well, and we just voted out another In-N-Out Burger on North Texas. So we are on the same path with that, but you have to understand there's individual owners of properties that are kind of stubborn. They don't want to sell, and of course.
Especially downtown.
Especially downtown. So we have these eyesores, like, to put it bluntly, and we understand that, and all of us on the council feel exactly the same way you do. But again, we're a city council, we're not, my wife goes, you guys on the city council, you guys need to get that building in. I'm afraid that's not how it works, but we do.
Pull my checkbook out.
Yeah, but they don't even want that. We've offered that. We said, hey, how about, and then if you think city domain and all, it's just, this is the United States. We can't just take property, we can't make people do things that we wish they would do, and believe me, we are on the same page with that, and Doris especially, she's been working so hard over there in her district at North Texas. It's just there are some stubborn landowners, and there's also, we are working on that and feel exactly the same way you do, and our votes on the council will show that.
And then also allowing with the Walmart there, you just protruding up the hill. And then when they put in the McDonald's up here, McDonald's, it turned out better than I anticipated. You don't smell the French fries and the oil and stuff. But if you allow these companies to come up into your good areas, it just kind of takes it down a notch. And then,
like I just said, we feel the same way. The council feels the same way. The other thing is that I've learned is that we have big businesses that we would love to have here. I've been working on it, and Mayor Boyd, I've been trying to get a cheesecake factory and all this, but they have such strict rules on their business model that it has to have this and this and this. But again, I assure you, we feel the same way you do.
What is the plan for the mall? I went to the mall the other day, first time in years, and I'll be honest, I don't go to the mall because I'm fearful of the things that I hear that are happening at the mall, but it was very sad. There was 7 people in the top floor of the mall when I went there for lunch. I mean, fortunately, Applebee's, by the time I left, was very crowded, which was wonderful to see. But I think, talk about an opportunity for revenue, it's just very sad that it just seems like people aren't going to the mall. They're going to Vacaville. How can we fix that?
Yeah, so on the mall, and it kind of ties into your point as well about attracting businesses. So there's 2 things that kind of work in concert. With the mall specifically, the council's in the process, we're in the process of updating the general plan. And the council has laid out a vision for redeveloping the mall. And those types of in large internal only malls are dying across the country. The mall is in receivership, so the prior company, and we had started having these conversations a few years ago, and we approached the prior mall ownership and said, hey, this thing's on a slow decline, we all know it. Are you interested and are you willing to work with us to talk about recreating this? And very specifically, trying to bring in housing, trying to restructure the mall, add different types of elements that make it more of what's called a lifestyle center, more open air, more walk around. And at the time they said, oh no, things are fine, right? It was the mall ownership, and that's the mall. One of the challenges that we have on that overall Gateway Center is that there's 5 property owners. So Macy's owns their property, JCPenney's owns their property. So that it's kind of a challenge sometimes getting them all to work together in that way. Well, lo and behold, things weren't really that fine. They lost them all. It's in receivership. The receiver is, I think, doing their due diligence. We've had a couple conversations with them. We said, yes, please. And then, of course, the next question out of their mouth was, okay, well, how much money will you give us to do this? So I know they have, that they're working on, some concept plans, and through the general plan, the council's identifying, hey, that's what needs to happen. So let's set up the zoning, let's remove any of the barriers that are necessary in order to make them doing that as easy as possible. And then that should help, hopefully over time, to recover that area. To the broader economic strategy, we have an economic development strategy that's got two prongs to it. One is downtown Fairfield, revitalizing downtown Fairfield. For those of you that maybe haven't gone down in a while, like a few years, I encourage you to head downtown, right? There's a lot of activity happening. What we're trying to do is we're really trying to bring in those businesses that drive bodies downtown, because the more people that get down there, usually as you try to revitalize and turn around downtowns like Fairfield has, particularly in suburban communities, it starts with sort of the food and beverage, right? It's kind of you bring culture. It's the place people want to be in your town, and that's where you have more of your one-off mom and pop types of restaurants, shops, those things that are unique to Fairfield down there. So we're in conversations right now with 2 breweries for different locations that would come down there. The more you kind of get that synergy on the food and beverage side, then the more it starts to become that cluster that people know, hey, on a Friday evening, we're going to go down there because we're going to have 7, 8 options to potentially walk around and see what we want. The city council's authorized a couple of different programs to really help those businesses along. But to Councilman Carr's point, we have a few property owners downtown, long-time property owners, right, 40, 50-year property owners that are just, shrug their shoulders at us. Yeah, so Councilman Connison's been working a ton, trying to really encourage those property owners to come along with us. And because the city's investing some funds down there, right? We're doing facade grants to businesses that will reinvest. We have a revolving loan program so that as you have to convert a retail space over to a restaurant, there's big cost in that, in adding all of that infrastructure. And so the council has identified that that's one of their priorities, and so they're willing to loan on a revolving basis funds for those types of improvements. The second prong of the economic development strategy is just what you'd said, hey, bringing in these larger employers, bigger businesses. And so we're more focused in that regard on our industrial and business parks. There's 7 industrial and business parks throughout Fairfield. One of those 7 is yet to be developed, but I mean, there's lots of space. What we have run into of recent is really our issue is PG&E. So the city owned a piece of property out off Red Top Road, 10 or 12 acres, something like that. So we're selling it for industrial use, but we really told them, hey, we really want manufacturing. We don't want logistics and warehousing. Again, as part of the general plan update, we're looking to get much more nuanced in terms of our land use designations, because our zoning right now is very broad. So something that's allowed could be anywhere from manufacturing to a warehouse distribution. Well, we know we're happy with warehouse distribution. We can let that go someplace else for the time being, and more of the manufacturing where it brings the jobs and the higher basis. But we had a company that was willing to spend big. It was about a $400 million VC-backed company that's food and beverage technology, and PG&E could not deliver them power in the time frame that they needed. So they're now building a facility in Illinois. So we're working on that. We're looking at microgrids in terms of sort of solving for that PG&E problem. To try to
solar farming.
That would be a part of it, yeah. Microgrids are where you basically create enough renewable generation capacity in a geographic region that you can offset all of the demand that otherwise would be on the PG&E system. And so by doing so, it gives us a lot more flexibility to say, hey, you need power in this area. Okay, we can generate that power for you, and we can move more quickly than PG&E. So we're working with a company right now that's a large international company, and they're going to do some feasibility analysis for us, specifically around the sewer district plant, because we've got, there's lots of property, lots of opportunity for renewable generation down there.
Okay, we have a lot of people that want to speak, so this lady's first.
But can I comment on the mall real quick? That's my district. I go there all the time. I go there for lunch. I go to the food court. I talk to the patrons, to the store owners, and so on, and the management. And when people were not feeling safe, I did talk to Chief Marshall about that. He had the sergeant go over there, and I go in there quite often. And I've talked to the hat people and people that were getting stolen, and it is reduced immensely. The police department has done a wonderful job over there. They got a lot more presence. It's noticeable. Like I said, I go there purposefully all the time. Also, it's hit and miss. Sometimes you go in there and that place is so crowded, I can't even believe they're hurting.
That's what I was gonna ask you, are there people there when you go?
And if you talk to the store owners, because I usually go into every store, how's it going? And they say they're doing okay, and then sometimes they're moving, and then sometimes it's really quiet. But that's the retail sales is going. You know, everybody goes online, internet, so we're losing that altogether, anyways. And to city manager's point is we got to revitalize and come up with new ideas for that area. And we are.
A place to go, and I think the outdoor
I campaigned on that. I mean, I'm really working on. We really are aware of it. It's a lot safer because of our police department. They have a lot more presence down there. I went by there yesterday, and it looked like some gang members sitting on the curb surrounded. So they're doing their job, and I've talked to like my wife and my daughter, and they work in Vacaville. So it has gotten a lot better, but retail sales is dead. So we're going to have to revitalize, come up with some new ideas down there, and that's what we are working on.
Okay, I know you've been waiting a long time, so.
Thank you. I think it's.
Could you introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Natasha Flintmore. I've been a resident almost 20 years here in Rolling Hills, a homeowner. I think what you just said, to piggyback off of the diverse ideas and new ideas, I think it's important for that to actually be felt by the community, right? That our input actually matters, not to just be shut down, right? Because people are saying a lot of wonderful things. I think also what I'm hearing here, there's a disconnect between what's actually happening, right? Because there's a lot of amazing things that are happening in the city that you know about, that if you're in city council, you know about. But the perception in the community, we don't understand, right? We don't fully know all those things. So this is just more of a question around that communication. And a part of it is how we as citizens get more involved, especially like those of us that may be commuting. But I want to think about, there was an engagement, I think it was about a year ago, where there was this 6-pronged plan, right? I remember actually coming in, sitting at a table with Mr. Vaccaro, and I remember we were talking about the homelessness, and that re-engagement was supposed to come back to the community. So I just want to encourage, right, to think about multiple entry points and ways to communicate with the community, even when it's, it may be difficult because of a variety of things. I want to go back to what June just stated around the mall, and just, again, her perception and experience, in spite of what the police may be doing. That is the perception. So as a result, people stay away. I want to say, this isn't new, right? What's been happening at the mall, this isn't new news. So I appreciate the eloquent, articulate, we're doing this and we're trying to revitalize. I remember Pam, I don't know, maybe it was 10, 12 years ago, talking about the same thing. I remember being in a meeting where it's like, we need to revitalize downtown. Let's think about bringing in Apple. Let's think about bringing this. So the one thing I want to say about the mall, because it does seem like there are some signature stores that have some ownership, right? And then there's the mall or whatever. Right, your average everyday citizen is not going to understand the complexities of that. But I do want to say this, one idea, just a thought, I want to just engage in thought partnership, if it's okay. Recently, I went to the Southland Mall. So Southland Mall is in Hayward. It had fallen into more, it had disintegrated or fallen into disarray, more than this mall. I went to go see, I hadn't been in the movies in several years. I just went to see, Indiana Jones. And when I walked into that mall, I was like, oh my gosh. They completely did what you said. They completely transformed this mall. From the colors, the brightness, the outdoor areas that you're talking about. So all I'm saying is another approach that you may want to look into in addition to all the things that we're already doing, is looking at some models in some cities and going in and talking with them and seeing and actually getting out of Fairfield and going and looking and seeing maybe what they've done. Because I'm telling you, if you go to the Southland Mall, what it had just fallen and just dilapidated, just everything, and just to see it now. And this is just my experience in the last week. So that's just what's making me think about if you guys at the city can identify some, like you said, this is happening across the, it's not just in Fairfield, like the state, the country. And so how can you go and look at some successful models that can revitalize those areas, because that can be essential.
Yes, absolutely, like the Grove in
Yes,
LA, it's
yes,
beautiful.
exactly.
And I mention that with the council all the time, look at the Grove, so I personally understand what you're saying, and I do follow that model.
Okay.
I do take a look around.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people with their hands up. Mr. Bisbee, I think you were next, and then a couple here, and then this right here. Yeah. Try to keep track here. This is
I'm
good.
Bill Bisbee, I live in Rolling Hills. I'm also known as Linda's husband. Talking about property owners, there was a piece last night on the news about a consortium of landowners or purchasers buying a lot of property around the air base. Do you have any idea who they are, what they're planning, what's going on? That's a big chunk of land that they're buying up, and nobody seems to know who's buying it.
Yeah, Flannery LLC. I don't have any good answers for you. No, we don't know who has purchased that much property.
Federal government doesn't know who they are either yet.
Correct. And so it's all shrouded, right? I mean, it is very purposefully protected and guarded who is buying that. The sentiment, the concern is that it's a foreign actor. And one of the challenges, a few months ago, we went to Washington, D.C. We met with Department of Defense. We met with, we were unable to get a meeting with Department of Treasury, but ultimately it's been referred over to what's called CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. And it's 33 different federal agencies all sort of feed into CFIUS, and it's overseen by Department of Treasury. CFIUS is really good at catching, foreign interaction or foreign investment or acquisition of United States intellectual property, right? So our technological secrets, CFIUS is really good at getting in and identifying, hey, this isn't an appropriate transaction. This isn't an appropriate sale. What's happening with these Flannery purchases, and frankly, it's happening all over the country. Grand Forks, I think South Dakota, there's around in Texas, there's one of the bases down there. There's tens and tens of thousands of acres of land being purchased. So being totally honest with you, I think the federal government is sort of in disarray when it comes to CFIUS and land transaction, and that's I know, shocking. Yeah, and that's because they haven't paid attention to land transactions in the past. It's not been something that's been identified as some national security consideration. Is acquisition of land. It's always been intellectual property, and so through my interactions with the various agencies and those conversations. Honestly, to me, it really seems like, it's kind of the 9/11 thing happening again, where multiple agencies or branches of agencies all have a little piece of the pie, but they're just not communicating at the federal level about what's going on.
Is there anything the county or the city can do to zone the heck out of that so they can't be?
Yes, the county just did to control that, and what we are doing is we're ringing the alarm bells, right? And so why was there a Wall Street Journal article all of a sudden about this? That wasn't an accident.
Okay, Mayor, you want to say something? And then
Yeah.
We got a lot of people who want to speak.
Just real
so I'm trying to
quickly,
keep everybody on.
4.5, 5 years ago, a farmer out of that area called me, and I was the first one. I investigated, I looked into it. And at the time, I called all the Board of Soups, I called everybody, nobody knew Flannery, what are you talking about? At that time, there were about 15,000 acres, now they've bought 40,000.
And Wall Street Journal has been working with me. I've been giving them some background, and they wrote this big story and talked with others. I told them. Anyway, the bottom line is that the county has done this, but what scares me is why is it that a citizen in Fairfield, me, was told just by a farmer that I knew, because I grew up here, that there's something wrong, he sees this going on. Why wasn't it caught before? And are there things in order to catch it again? And to what the city manager said, no, there isn't. It was an accident that I found out about it. Ultimately, it would have come to attention because it is abutting some of Travis Air Force Base, and they continue to try to buy more land. They came to us to try to get public land from the Solano County Water Agency, and they offered like 10 times what anybody else would pay for it, at least. And we said no. You know, we're not going to do it because it abuts the base again. We're all about protecting the base, obviously. But the bottom line is that this stuff sneaks under our targets all the time. The city manager, we are all on top of it now. This board of supervisors, everybody's well aware now and knows exactly, knows what's going on. To a point. I mean, I called the attorneys myself 4 or 5 years ago. They lied to me about what they were doing. They told the Wall Street Journal wrote that they've told 2 different stories about what they're doing. I don't believe anything. I was called by a source that said it is the Chinese. Somebody from the Department of Defense called me. So I'm just saying, I don't believe them, and that's just what I know from just my looking into it. But it is worrisome, and the flags are up now.
Okay, so we have one other person over here, this lady over here next, so somebody else over here. Okay.
Hi, my name's Kim Carmichael. I live on Chaparral Drive, and we have a abandoned home that was, it was a grow house for marijuana, and they have now, the police cleaned it up, the people are out, but the home is vacant and there is a dilapidated car in the driveway. So I did the Fairfield CEA app, and I went online and I filed a complaint, and after like 45 days, nothing ever happened. So I further researched and found out that we have a code enforcement officer. So I emailed this person. She emailed me back right away promptly and said she was going to look into it, send notice to the homeowner. So they did somewhat clean up the weeds out front, but there is an abandoned car in the driveway that I have complained about with this code enforcement officer. She said another officer was in charge of that. It's been like 45 days, almost like 60 days at this point that nobody has came out, gave me any information, what's going on. I've uploaded pictures, there's cobwebs on the car, there's flat tires. The car is inoperable. The last I heard, the officer said she was gonna go out there and take a look. That was June 21st. I've still heard nothing back. The car is still there. It's an eyesore for the neighborhood. And I just wanna know, what's the next step I can do, because I'm getting no answers from anybody on that situation.
Is the car in the driveway?
Yes.
All right. So that's a separate kind of issue as well. It's not like it's on public property that we can just go tow it right away. So it does take some time. So I'll give you my card if you want to email me the address.
Okay.
I will follow up.
Okay, and the other thing I want to discuss is when traffic on Highway 80 is a complete stop, like yesterday, and I got stuck coming back from the Bay Area. It was about 5 o'clock, so the freeway is complete stop. So I got off at Waterman and took Hilborn. Well, when you get to Hilborn, yesterday it was backed up to the school. There was the left turn lane into Rolling Hills. Cars were backed up going into Fieldcrest and coming out on Garden Meadow. It was a disaster. We're in line trying to wait for the left turn lane for for Lion Road. The cars coming out of Garden Meadow, there was like 5 at one time trying to bogart in the line. Cars were trying to go the opposite way towards Safeway. It was a disaster. People were honking, people are fighting. And I just wonder when the police know that there's a huge accident like yesterday at Pina Adobe, it's gonna be a shit show on Hillborn. Can we get officers out there to like man the light to make the traffic move? Because yesterday was a disaster.
Well, the problem is the disaster isn't just here. It's all the way up Bandon Road, it's down
Right.
Peabody. So there's so many different outlets. We would have to control Vacaville's lighting system and everybody. So that's why a lot of times we just let that be controlled by the lights. We don't have enough cops to go out there and actually sit and do this. And the truth is, then it backs up on Pleasant Valley, up in Vacaville, in the county. It's not just here.
I
It's
understand, but
everywhere.
if
And I
there
was
was an
stuck in that traffic
emergency
yesterday myself, so
and fire or somebody had to come out, it was a disaster.
they will get through.
I'm just saying, it's just very
I get your
frustrating.
frustration, I do, and unfortunately, it's probably gonna be like this for a couple of years until they get all this stuff done, and there's
But-
crashes every week now.
Right, but even
Between
before they
Vacaville.
started that, Hillborn was of course the Friday night traffic
Right.
zones. And I just feel like if we're backed up to the school, trying to make the left turn lanes, it's just crazy to me.
I get it, but it is backed up all over, and it really truly is Airbase Parkway. So I don't know how we would even control those lights or manage that to make that happen, just being realistic with you. It's frustrating, it's annoying to sit so long in traffic, I get that, and especially in your own neighborhood.
And all
And I
those
know,
fights
and
and
I know you
wrecks.
guys deal with a lot of speeders and everything else over there too. We are aware, we're trying to deal with it.
Interstate Hillborn.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Interstate Hillborn.
But unfortunately, honestly, the routes get that way everywhere. So Bandon, Peabody, that becomes the same thing up to Leisure Town. And then even the back roads up through Paradise Valley, people start taking Manuel Campos that way. North Texas backs up. It's just,
You know, they
to your
just
quote,
unlocked
it's a shit show through the whole city.
right next to each other.
Okay, hold on.
They're so close together.
Okay. So you've been waiting a while, so.
Yes,
Can you
thank you.
introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I am Shaylin Haywood, and I'm a former high school algebra teacher at Mary Bird and Fairfield High. And now I'm a owner of Gensation Ginger Beverage, and I created these healthy recipes made out of organic Peruvian ginger. And we have excellent benefits that I know would benefit city department and staff. So I'd like to know, and we're also sold at Nugget Markets from Vacaville and El Dorado Hills. Thank you. So I'd like to know, can someone explain to me the process of doing business with the city of Fairfield for our daily beverage?
Yeah, I'll connect with you afterwards.
Okay, that sounds great, and I'd also like to connect with you.
Hold on, okay.
Thank you.
The
My,
friend back here.
sorry, I'm Alex Tate, I'm on Glen Ellen, and I was just concerned about the traffic too. So I understand, I mean, controlling the lights isn't realistic. My main thing though is, like you said, just safety issues. I live on Glen Ellen right there, and they're taking Garden Meadow and they're coming down around. Is there any way to patrol at least those private streets? I couldn't get out of my house to feed my children yesterday. And that part to me is concerning. Like, couldn't we put maybe a patrol car there to just block that and tell them you have to take the main road? I don't care. If you have to wait in traffic, that's reality. But to block the side streets where we can't even get out of our courts, that's crazy.
So I can definitely make the beat officer aware, obviously, but I can't guarantee anything. Our busiest time for calls for service is 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. We've already doubled up our staffing between that time, just to try to get to our calls for service. And we're obviously priority based, so if something is happening to somebody else, then we need to get there. If our officers are going to that crash, then that's obviously the priority too. So yes, I'll put it out to the lieutenant and the sergeant and the officers in the area, just to keep in mind so they can be around here during, we know it's bad traffic through here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll just send out a reminder, like, hey, please.
They think
please
it's a shortcut,
circulate
and
through.
it's like you end up waiting longer anyways, but then
Yeah.
we as residents can't get out.
Well,
you know?
even during the morning, I was coming back up from Pete's Coffee up here, and some idiots driving around cars, and it's like.
Yeah, that's the main thing is it's just a solid line, like even like the turning across street, the cars just, they don't wanna let anybody in, so it's like
Right.
a solid line of cars, even when you're trying to turn to go the opposite way they're going, it's just a solid line because they don't want anybody to sneak in.
Yeah,
So
Hillborn
it's
was
just crazy.
completely cut off because all the cars coming from Garden Meadow weren't letting the cars down Kilborn, so it was
So we
just
know,
bad.
we know there's an issue. I got a couple of people want to talk about it over here, so.
My name is Heidi Doherty, I live off of Hill Ridge. My question is, with the traffic coming, and the traffic coming so quickly through, especially, I think is it Glenwood, when you're crossing from the park into our side of the neighborhood? What would be the process to get a stop sign put there? I know farther up on Fieldcrest, and you know, you come around to a blind curve to that street, so that would probably not be, but farther down, right there on Glenwood, where you cross from the park, because I don't know how many times, I was just recently telling somebody I was going on a walk with her, and we were coming back across, and a car just came flying down, literally missed us by about 2 feet. And the gentleman had actually went and he stopped, he was in his early 20s, he came back and he apologized to us that he wasn't even paying attention, he was just flying down the street. You got, especially during school, you've got kids that are crossing from the park. And that's a big, long street. I mean, you really have to hustle across that street. And I think if we could get a stop sign right there, it would slow that traffic down. You know, they would actually have to pause a minute before they can keep. Otherwise, it is literally a freeway all the way down to, you know, where the school's at. That's that first stop sign right there. So a way to break that up with a stop sign. How can you go about trying to do that?
Yeah, we can look at a traffic study over there and see. Obviously, there's tons of traffic through there, and we do know that. And the speeds are incredibly high sometimes.
Yeah,
We,
I mean,
we
those
do
times.
write tickets out there, I promise.
Yeah, I know, I see
And
you
they're
guys
high.
all the time, but I'm just thinking if there's a stop sign that can come, that would slow them down before they can get
Well,
up.
and it might help control some of the other traffic stuff that you're talking about too.
Yeah.
Carrie, you have it? Yeah, Carol.
Very bad as the one sanctuary. I take Kilborn home every day and I try and go the speed limit or 35 to 40 miles an hour. And everybody goes zooming past 50, 60 miles all the time. And I never see cops on that road ticketing. I mean, there's a lot of people doing it. One other thing, I watch most of the city council meetings online and I missed this, but when did you rename Civic Center Drive to Harry Price? Saw that sign the other day, and I'm like, you never did.
It's been a while.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see
Deservedly
that.
so.
I was really proud of
And
her.
deservedly that he did.
We also changed the chamber to Harry Price.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
So-
Is that a stop
Yeah, we're
sign?
finishing, we're gonna be finishing up all the lettering and all that stuff, and once we do, then there'll be a formal, like, ceremony unveiling.
Yeah, 'cause I thought there would have been a ribbon cutting, I would have gone to it.
There will be.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Yep. I know I have two people, Carol and this gentleman right here. I don't know who wants to go first, but.
Steve Garrison, and
I think he
first of all,
understands,
I am so happy I'm retired. I don't have to deal with traffic anymore. So, second one, gosh, you guys have been so great. Thank you so much for all the patience you've had here. Food trucks. Interesting, I've seen a lot of food trucks where they pop up. Almost anywhere. Lowe's, parking lot, Safeways, Walgreens. I love food trucks. I love to eat. But do we have a plan on food trucks? Do we have maybe and here's a revenue source. We have a place, Oakland now does it. They bring people downtown into Kaiser Plaza, set them up, bring them in. Because I hate looking all over the place to try and find the food truck I want. I'm just greedy that way, what can I say? And then I look at the food trucks in every location and they contribute to a lot of trash and traffic. And I'm sure there's problems that go with that. So I don't know if there's a plan to that. My last one, and Chief, I apologize, homeless. Do we have a plan on homeless? And it's a tough one. I'm part of my homeowner association, and the number one call I get on the weekends and the evenings, and pictures, and oh my God, how come the police can't come take care of these people? I have a lot of empathy and sympathy, but I don't know what the plan is. And if you can tell me, I can tell my homeowners.
I can just address one issue, the homelessness. Myself and Councilman Pandora sit on the 2x2 committee with the county of Solano. And there's two representatives from each city in Solano. And it's been a process, and we continue to work on it.
The HIP team does a great job.
So we're basically looking at now, different shelters. This is countywide too, not just in Fairfield, but countywide because the region. Right, thank you, Doug. The regional approach is what we're looking at, because really in every county in California, a regional approach has worked as best as you can. is we need the help of all the different cities and the county together, and that's what we're working on right now. Now, I'm not saying it's solving the issue, but hopefully the long term is definitely.
Can you help me? I was told that we're the county seat, and as the county seat, that means people who come in here get released here. That is a little bit of the contribution. And maybe help people understand what that means and why it contributes to the homelessness.
So we're the county seat. We hold jail. We hold all of the basically community services, mental health services. Everything is in Fairfield. Backville has one spot. Will has a little one. But pretty much we have everything here in Fairfield. So when someone gets released from jail, they do get released out into the jail from either Claybank or they get released from downtown. They end up down here. So we have a few programs to kind of combat that. And we just used it the other day.
And Chief, you being released, in other words, they can be picked up outside of Fairfield in the county or other areas and they're brought here.
Correct.
So therefore, Fairfield is absorbing this problem. This is not a slight on you. I'm just trying to make sure people understand this. I actually do understand it. So
correct. So
other people brought here and
so we end up adopting sometimes other people's homeless issues because they'll get arrested for a slight misdemeanor. They'll get dropped at the jail. The jail goes, you're out the door, and then they're out on Fairfield streets. So we've done a few things, and I'll try to make this as quick as possible for everybody. We started a taxi cab service a while back because what we noticed is that was happening. People are getting dropped off, released from jail at midnight, 2 in the morning, whatever times. There's obviously 0 services out there. So they're using the fronts of our businesses for urination, defecation, whatever else they need to do. So we now send them back. So the other day, someone was like, hey, I need to get back to Benicia. I got arrested. I have no phone. I have no way to call. We put them in a cab, send them back to Benicia. Because in the end, it reduces calls for service for us. It reduces damage to our businesses or other issues. So we have that. That's for that type of a situation. Some of the cities have realized that's happening. And I think they've even addressed it at the 2x2, like, hey, stop sending people back to us. So we'll stop sending them this way, right? So our council has basically put that back on them, like stop dumping them off in the dirt, right? So that's being addressed. Just for the homelessness in general, we added the community action team this year to kind of focus on our businesses, business community. They work in partnership with our HIT team. And so we have one lieutenant that manages both of them. And so they are now going to go more project-based because what we've been kind of doing is just chasing calls. Homeless Joe moves over here, move him down the street. Now homeless Joe's over here, we get another call, right?
Call whack-a-mole.
So we basically just keep sweeping the problem, which is not healthy. And so we've done a couple things. Those two teams are going to work together. They're going to be more project-based. So
What does that mean?
So we're going to look at where areas are really having congregational stuff. How do we fix that versus just moving them down the street?
my interaction was with Officer Whipple. Great. I don't think he's on the HIT team anymore, but as I got phone calls in, I stopped going to the police department and went with him because he was part of the homeless intervention team. And it was amazing because instead of just moving along, he got some resources, something, and instead of them just moving along, they disappeared or they went in whatever direction. He got them some assistance.
Yeah.
So that was a very positive.
So last year they took 94 people off the street and got them services. 12 others, we have a homework bound program. So if you are homeless or unhoused and your family's in Texas, and we can connect with your family and say, hey, can John come live with you? And you're like, sure, John, come live with us. We have a place for him. I just can't get him out here. We will put him on a bus, train, plane, whatever we have to do, and we will get them to Texas and follow up with the family there to make sure that.
How do people here get in touch with the homeless intervention team versus just calling hey, there's a guy down the street? Because I did find out that working with them really did help more than just calling. And I think it was better for you guys.
No, it's helpful, but we also need to track where they are and stuff too. So it's always best still to go through dispatch, and then if they start to see the problems or challenges, the officers on the street will also say, hey, Parker, I need you to come help with this guy because he needs services. Parker will come and do that. Now they're going to have a little bit more time to do that. The other thing the city council is working on with this last budget that got approved is we're looking at doing some street medicine. We currently do it once a month. The truth is, the Housing First program model is not successful because there's no balance, there's no control, there's no case management or oversight for a lot of these people. So what we're finding is these people that are in psychosis on the street, they may have schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar. What we found is injectable medicines that have a time delay are effective. And so we're working on a contract with a program where we can get 3 days a week of street medicine. We go out with our hidden cat team to kind of help with some of those problem-based issues. So we can get them stabilized in the community where they're at, so where they're not doing some of the stuff that scares people or the garbage collection. And then we can get them placed into housing in a stable environment, get them case managed. So it's a different approach. We'll see how it goes. We're hoping for some success. We've seen some success with the 1 day a month, but as you can imagine, if you can't find me on the one Wednesday a month that you come out, that would be 2 or 3 months down the road without knowing something, and create some problems. And just for an example of that, we had a guy that we called him a 3-officer minimum because he always fought with us all the time, and it was not a good fight. It was always a knockdown, drag out. He ended up unfortunately recently passing, but 2 weeks before that, he was been a part of our program. He was getting his medicine. Him and I had a conversation at Pete's Coffee, like I'm talking to you. So we also found out he was a concert pianist in his church. We got him a keyboard. He was playing beautifully. These are human beings, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know people get frustrated with the mess and the challenges, but we also have to maintain that, right? They are humans. We need to treat them with respect and dignity, and that's why we're looking at alternative programs.
So we have Doug wants to comment, then the mayor, and then Carol. Well, not to put, sorry, Carol, but you want to comment on the same issue,
Yeah.
so then we'll go to another issue.
On the homeless issue, it's a complicated issue, and like the chief said, we're working on it far better than most cities. Be reassured on that. The other thing is, we have a roundtable homeless meeting coming up on the 12th. You did have to register, but as community residents, you can be involved in this. The more people we have involved in any kind of problem, the better the results, the more understanding. There's so many people in here right now that probably have resources that would help this issue that I don't even know about or that we don't. So the more people involved in it, and you can go online. Chief, that is on the 12th, at Royal Hall? Yeah, it's on the 12th. And we are working on it as a community. And at this specific meeting, it is so good. This will be the second one I attended. We have motel people there, owners, everybody is involved in this. And the more that we're involved in this issue, the far better the results. So that's all I really have to say on that, is the more people we have involved with our homeless population, the better off all of us will be.
Okay, Mayor and Carol.
There's more good news. I've been able to talk to my colleagues about this. The chief just said that Housing First has been a failure. It has. There are good things about Housing First. Housing First is, what it means is you bring people in with no barriers, which is a good thing. You have to be able to get them off the street. The bad thing is especially in California, there is no housing to put them into. And Housing First had only funded long-term housing and not shelters. So shelters started getting hit by it. One of the reasons why the Women and Children's Shelter closed here was because of Housing First. Because if you take money from HUD, you have to allow these people to continue to use street drugs. Okay? So they can come in loaded with their kids, and we said no. Okay? And I kept trying to get through. The good news is that I have just been appointed to a nationwide, the Mayor's Conference has appointed me to work on a task force with the mayor from Los Angeles, who doesn't have, she has a way bigger problem than we have. but we're gonna look at changing housing first. It has to be changed. Otherwise, we're just perpetuating the problem that put some of these people on the street in the first place. You have to cut off the drugs. You have to get them off the drugs and get them on their meds. And we all understand that now. It's taken a long time. This policy was put under George W. So it's been 23 years. And that we've been doing this, and what have we seen in those years? Homelessness has gone through the roof. We have to get to the bottom line with homelessness, which is what Rick's doing, what Doug's doing, what we're all doing, is get down to the bottom line. What got you here? And it's different for everybody. And then you help on those root issues. So the good thing is that we're going to be handling from the city level and now at the national level. So it's something for us to look forward to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carol?
Different subject, but it's sanctuary. My neighbors asked me, but they couldn't be here today. Please ask this. So I have a two-part question. It's probably for David and the chief, and actually our fire official could probably pipe in on this. And the next one is one's about overgrown weeds and fire hazards, and the other one's about the parking of the cars. So can I ask you two? Will we answer the one?
You only get one, Carol.
Yeah.
It's gotta be the fire one.
That's gotta be a fire question.
Arizona, so I only get one question. Anyway, so we have several rental homes, and they're $1 million homes, which is just amazing. And the people over there are well-behaved renters, but they will not do the weeds. And one of them is like 3 doors down from me, and all my neighbors. One looks over, and we call the real estate management police because the weeds are up to in the backyard up to the fence, and the weeds in the front are getting up to like elephant's eye now too. So when I call code enforcement for the front, and my neighbor really does most of that code enforcement, we don't get anything. I mean, our CC&R say this is not allowed, but you have to get arbitration and a $3,000 retainer on that. Is it worth it? I'd rather go mow the thing down myself. But what's the policy on when the weeds get this high in the front yard and when the weeds in the backyard go against the neighbor's fence and they're getting concerned? What is the turnaround of that?
So you can contact our fire prevention division, and we will start noticing the homeowner. And after a certain amount of notices, we can go out and actually cut the grass ourselves, and then we charge the homeowner for that.
What's the number for fire prevention?
Call the dispatch 428-7300. And just ask for fire prevention. And we do have during the summertime, we do have dedicated staff for vegetation management.
That's great. Okay. Oh, that's the backyard.
And
So the
code
front
enforcement
yard.
will work with them too on that.
Okay.
Joint between code enforcement.
Right, but in the front yard is the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, on code.
Okay, because I've gone to the Fairfield pad,
Yeah, nothing happens,
And-
that's what I did.
Okay, the second part is the parking of the cars. And I remember Jeremy Crockett did this wonderful thing, and he said, oh yeah, we're not gonna do that, you can move the car 1 foot anymore. And so we had one parked for 3-4 months between in front of my house and in front of the neighbor's house, and just kept going back and forth every week. And we code enforced, and they said, finally a nice officer called me back, because it was like, every time I got the thing, it's been resolved, I go, well, it's still there. But they're just making it move 1 foot. And he explained to me that the thing that the resolution you passed earlier this year was someone was sleeping in a car. But it's not, it's just long-term parking of a commercial or whatever vehicle. So I guess my question is, can we ask, because there's a home right in our neighborhood that only one person lives there, but there's 7 or 8 cars there.
Are they regular cars?
Some of them are business, but some of them are regular passenger cars.
So that latest ordinance was for recreational type vehicles. Like RVs, things like that. And so that is the most unfortunate and frustrating game that we have to play with people, is we tag their car for 72 hours. They go and they move it. We mark the tire.
Yeah.
They move it a foot or 2 because then it's technically running, or so to speak. Then we have to go back out and tag it again, because that's what we're kind of, with our tow authority, that's what we're stuck with, so.
Can we do anything to beef that up? Is there anything?
I'm not sure on that one. That's,
Can you guys look into it? And you've seen it, you've walked by it.
there's no law that says you can't have a certain amount of cars, and there's no law that says you can't park on a public street other than your rest.
Okay. I mean, I know they're going overseas and they're just having all their friends park their car.
Move over into ours, we have an HOA, we'll get rid of it.
I think the HOAs have more authority sometimes.
They do, yeah.
So-
They actually do.
So it's about 11:36, so I know we have a couple more people who want to talk, but just let's keep the comments very succinct so we can get to everybody before we start to wrap it up around 11:45, 11:50. So go ahead, sir.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alan Johnson. I'm on Shaker Road Circle. Some information on the Flannery Group. I first heard about them about 5 or 6 years ago from Skip Thompson, and it is China that is behind it, according to my sources in the Defense Department. The good news is Congressman Garamendi and others on the House Armed Services Committee are very much aware of this. It was discussed at a hearing within the past month or two, so there is some motion on it. The long-term solution deals with LLCs that are allowed to buy land without revealing who's behind them, and the law needs to be changed on that. I don't know if it's state or federal, but that's the state.
Delaware allows you to do that. Some states allow it, and they are registered in Delaware.
Okay, what can you change? Can the California law be set up such that if you buy property in California, regardless of where the LLC is registered, they have to reveal their full identity of the principals and not just this veil of LLC secrecy?
Right.
That is a long-term approach. And it's a problem not just with Flannery Group and others like it. It's a problem with some Russians in Florida, for example, that are coming in and buying up condominiums and stuff, and no one knows who's behind them.
Yes.
Okay, that's the approach we take.
Yes.
So rip the veil off.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity. I'm Mark Carmody, Couple Circle, and I want to address the council members here as board members of the Paradise Valley Maintenance Monitoring District. Yeah, I won't be here. I'm out of town on the 18th for a public hearing, so I want to just address a couple of things, which I addressed last year, and it seems that with the letter I got, the assessments are going to be about the same, which we've come a long way. From 10 years, over $1,000, we're down to like the max is about $340. But one of my issues is I live on Couple Circle, and we're just talking about Paradise Ridge, 360, Couple Circle, and Encore. That's basically the gas. So my house is about 2,400 square feet, and in 360, there's homes there that are 2,200 square feet. Why is my assessment twice? I'm 340, they're going to be assessed 180. That's one issue. Plus, some of 360 and some even cottages in the ridge butt up right against the hill. I'm not against the hill, so that's another issue. And my last issue, because I want to keep it quick, is the elephant in the room. Some of us homeowners for 10 years have been paying, which we now have $1.5 million reserve. And now we have 120 new residents from Ridge and 360 coming in. Are they just going to inherit the money we put in toward that $1.5 million? I'm talking about reparations. So can we think about talking about that? Thank you very much for your time. Refund, yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, is that a better word? Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, I'm not sure if anybody else has Okay, shh, hold on.
Well, first of all, I just want to tell you, Carol, I use that app all the time for the weeds. Been very successful for me, so I appreciate that app. But Chief, you mentioned the RVs. Is that in driveways, or is that on the street?
On the street, yeah. Hold on. Okay, you go first. No, she'll.
That's right.
She's got a quick question. You might take so long, so we'll let you go after.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheila Tucker, and I am so happy to be living in Rolling Hills. I've been there for 26 years. I understand that we need to increase the amount that we pay. I'm not against that. I just think that we need to have a more equitable way of doing it for all property owners. When I first learned about all of this, they told me it was going to be maybe $350. $350, okay. I get my proposed assessment, it was closer to 800. So, you know, something just didn't fly there. But I'm not about complaining, I'm about trying to find solutions. And Vice Mayor, you were talking about your meeting coming up on Monday. I'd really like to hear what some of your bullet points are for that upcoming meeting on Monday to address these issues that we are bringing to you about the LND in Rolling Hills. We have fire season approaching, and it's very concerning. So thank you so much for allowing us all to speak to you, and I hope that we can all work together.
Yeah, and did you want me to speak?
Yeah, no, this lady can wait a little bit.
I just wanted to know the Wednesday roundtable, where is it and what time?
It's 10:30 a.m. at Willow Hall, which is the community center downtown, 1000 Kentucky Street.
Okay.
Willow Hall.
10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, July 12th.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at some alternative solutions for moving forward. Because what's happened in the past, it is what it is, and we do need to move forward. So we will look at the CFDs. We'll be talking about, like I mentioned earlier, looking at each of these contracts in each of the LLMDs to make sure that, at least for now, the maintenance provider is providing what's contractually obligated for them to provide. To make sure that we're getting what we pay for at this point. And I'd also like to discuss, and I would like to, ask the mayor to actually agendize, and I need to cover David's ears while I say this, but we need to look at restructuring, or at least evaluating how we can restructure some of the loans that we've had to make, because the bottom line is this problem is here because the city dropped the ball. You said earlier, June, and I amen it 100%, the city needs to have some skin in the game here. I mean, bottom line is, we did it, it wasn't this administration, but it was the city of Fairfield that dropped the ball. Can we do something?
Amen.
Can we do, I'm sure, structural deficit acknowledged, I'm sure that this city council can find a way to look at a way to do something to help to kind of restructure, to ease the pain of having to pay these things back that kind of really aren't your fault in the first place. So I'm going to ask them, I don't know. I mean, the staff are the experts. They can look at what might be plausible for us to do in terms of looking at some kind of restructure that lessens the pain. So that's kind of a thumbnail, and then I'm just interested to hear what our folks in Paradise Valley have to say, what Rancho has, how can we move forward together? I'm going to be all ears as well, but I did not want to leave this meeting without that accountability piece that hopefully the city council, the staff can investigate and bring us some options back on how we can address moving forward, and the city taking some responsibility for a situation that we kind of created. So that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Rick, you said you had your hand up.
Yep, two of us. Attaboy. People have said repeatedly here, how do we get more information? How do we know? What's the status? What's going on? What's happening with? The Fairfield Weekly newsletter is electronic, and when you sign up for it, you get it. It has lots of information on it. I mean, people are signed up for it.
Real-time information.
Real-time, real current information. Please, if you haven't got it, get it. It's a silent way of being informed of what's going on. Encourage others who aren't here to do that. It's really good because then they can update us with all these things that are going on. Maybe less fluff, maybe more factual updating, but they do a lot of good things, and it's in there. And the other one is flock. How many people know what a flock camera is? Awesome. If your car was had its catalytic converter stolen, and your neighbor said, hey, there was a blue car out in front, I think they did it. It happened last night about 2 a.m. I was coming home. If there was a flock camera at the end of your street or nearby, you would then call the police department and actually make your complaint. And they would say, what time was it? What color was it? They are going to get a picture of the blue car that was there, the license plate of that car. This is a system that's extremely effective. They've made bunches of arrests. and recovered lots of things as a result of it. Our neighborhood on Couple Circle, we were this close to doing it. We had a concern about Flock as a company, this was 2 years ago. We were gonna do it. We were gonna get 2 cameras, and we were gonna pony up the $5 grand for 2 cameras. We had problems and it didn't work out. We want to do it, but this is a challenge for the city. Where you have communities that want to step up. Wood Lake had one, they pulled theirs out, they had some issues. They fixed most of them now. We would like to do this. If the city would partner with communities that want to get together, whether it's a neighborhood watch group that are willing to pony up the money on an annual basis, it's $2,500 for a camera. If the city would split it or do some form of a partnership, I strongly believe we would get support for that, because once that is known, crime does go down because they catch the people. It scares some people away that are smart, that know that's what that is and they know they've been identified. The stupid ones are going to get caught because they're going to get their license plate taken. So this is a program, if Chief Marshall can add a little bit to it, but the bottom line is we need a program. This is the city council. If you like that concept, get the ball rolling in that direction. We would love to have a partnership in our stake in the game too.
And we would love to get more cameras. We have all of our ingress in the city covered right now. If anything that gets put into a system, it's a license plate reader system. So if a car comes into town, we had one, it was a homicide suspect from a homicide just occurred 3 hours before it went on the road. Our guys found the car, we ended up chasing it back up towards Sacramento, turned it back over, and they dealt with the outcome of it, but that person is in custody. We use Flock on a regular basis. They do have community partnership type programs. If a group was interested in splitting it, it would probably have to come out of my budget. So, right, Sabine? The IT budget. So that'd be something we'd have to discuss and look into. But there are businesses as well that I know. I just talked to the Bright Spot, the marijuana business out there on Walters Court. He's going to probably invest in a couple. We have a couple others that are investing. So we are starting to get some more business community. We have about 58 cameras for Flock right now. And so we're trying to get as many as possible. It is helpful. And they supplement our other 50 some CCTV cameras in the city too. So.
378.
Okay.
We have a lot of good cameras, so thank you very much.
Does anybody else have their hand up before we're going to start to wrap it up a little bit? Okay, I just wanted to say one thing before we leave. This has been the largest one we've had so far, so you guys are great coming out here. And I figured it would because I saw June walking this morning. She said, "Are you ready for your talk?" I go, "I'm not talking. I mean, you guys are." I didn't say that, but after you said that, I said, "Wait a minute, I'm not talking. You guys are talking. We're listening, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing." And I think we really did listen to everybody's concerns. We have some action items we're going to do. And like I said, I really appreciate everybody from District 4 coming out here and representing your district and your homes and your neighborhoods. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. David, do you want to say anything before you leave? Or any of our council members want to make any closing statements?
No, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And they will want to thank you for listening.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Great meeting.